Hey there, I'm Michael Williams, your island chef. Welcome to my kitchen. Today, we're gonna be working on light winter fare. Typically, people kind of hunker down and dig into some of that, soul comforting kind of heavier foods, maybe not quite so nutritious. We're gonna lighten it up a little bit and cover 3 delicious recipes. We're gonna do a coconut apple crumble. From there, we're gonna move on to a winter slaw, and we're gonna finish it off with a roasted mushroom and pecan quinoa. All of that coming up on today's show. So, we're starting this recipe off by slicing up our apples. And if you're going to do this at home, do not do it as I am doing it right now, because I'm not using the guard. And this is a dangerous machine. While I have a lot of practice with it, I wouldn't want you to hurt yourself. You see, the mandolin likes to cut things. It doesn't care if it's an apple or your finger, okay? So it is dangerous, it's really sharp. You should always use this if you're not really comfortable with it. I'm not, oh, I cut a little bit of core there, we'll get rid of that. I, obviously have had lots of practice, and I'm very comfortable with this piece of machinery, but I wouldn't want you to, follow my lead and get hurt. So always be safe. Now, we're gonna slice up 4 apples. Now, you can also do this by hand, of course. If you don't have a mandolin, or you have one and you just don't want to go there, of course, you can just slice these guys up with your knife, and that's just fine too. So now, what we want to do, we're going to transfer these guys to our casserole dish. And you know what? This is a great use for apples that are maybe a little bit bruised. No problem kind of throwing them in the mix. And what we'll do, we've got some roasted cinnamon here, which we're going to apply liberally, toss them around, add a bit more. Lots and lots of cinnamon on them. I like that. So if you like that strong cinnamon flavor, then go ahead and dump it on there. Once they're nicely coated, we're ready to make our crust. Beautiful. All right, so we've got our apples ready to go. I don't know if you can hear it, but I've got some butter bubbling away in the background there. It is melted and ready to add into our crumble topping. Let's make the crumble topping, shall we? I didn't mention yet, but this is a gluten-free crust. I've got some gluten-free large flake oats here. We've got nice flaked coconut. I love this stuff. Big flakes of coconut. We're gonna do a half a cup of that. And then what we're gonna do is get this running and pour in our butter. So I've got about 1/3 cup of butter here. Good, that should do the trick. Okay, so all we're trying to do here now, using large flake oats, because they're a lot healthier than the quick oats, a little bit more, slower digesting and better just on the nutrition side of things. But just to use them straight, they're, a little bit too chewy, a little bit too much texture. So that's why we threw them in here to chop them up, along with our coconut. So now, we're going to get everything into our mixing bowl here, and then we're going to stir in a little bit of salt and sugar, and that's it. Our crust will be ready to go. Gluten-free crust, if that matters to you. But beyond that, just a little bit more nutritious than like a regular kind of apple crumble, flour, sugar, and well, we got our butter in there, but quite often these apple crumbles are quite, loaded with some calories that maybe we don't want. Okay, so now Okay, so pinch of salt, and then a couple tablespoons of some coconut sugar. Okay, and then we'll just stir that up. And once that's nicely mixed, we'll be ready to push that down on top of our apples. Okay, this is looking great. Let's get that on top of our apples, and then we'll just spread it out, flatten it out, squish it down nicely. And this is now ready to hit the oven, 350 degrees for about 45, 50 minutes. Get those apples nice and soft and get our crust nicely browned. So, we'll check that out a little bit later. Next up, we're going to be working on that winter slaw with a sweet and spicy hemp seed dressing. It's going to be delicious. Have you guys seen my garlic trick before? Well, at least I think it's my garlic trick. I haven't seen anyone else doing that garlic trick until I started doing that garlic trick. I'm pretty sure it's my garlic trick. So what I do, frying pan, pot, whatever it is, crunch, 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 breaks the skin, makes it nice and easy to peel your garlic. Okay, we're gonna get a few garlic cloves here because we're making our dressing. We want some fresh garlic in our garlic cloves. And by the way, you know, with my little trick here, whenever I am peeling garlic, I'll start with this. Even if I only need a couple cloves, I'll do that, gather this up, put it into a storage container, and then keep it in the fridge for the next time I need garlic. Pretty cool, hey? All right, so we've got our garlic. Over here, we've got a chipotle pepper in the blender already. So, one nice size chipotle pepper. It's gonna give us a good kick. Some garlic, some maple syrup, a couple tablespoons. What we're doing here is we're making a spicy chipotle maple dressing for our slaw, okay? Now, a little bit of apple cider vinegar. Want to give that a good shake so we can get the mother as well. And then a super nutrition boost with some hemp hearts. Get a couple tablespoons of those guys. Now it's time for some egg yolks. So now we need a couple free-range egg yolks. Into the blender they go. And I say free-range because they're the cleanest eggs for raw egg yolk dressing. So we're ready to add a little bit of seasoning, get the blender rolling, and add in our oil. All right, so we're just gonna dial this up a little bit with some cumin seed, a little bit of salt, and some smoked paprika as an option. Fire up the blender. Okay, so we're gonna fire this up and get it nice and smooth. Pureed a little bit, get that garlic chopped up, the hemp hearts blended, get the, what else did we put in here? The cumin seeds nicely chopped up. And now at this stage, we can start slowly adding our oil. We're making an emulsification here. So a slow, steady drizzle of oil is what we're looking for until we get our dressing to the right consistency. I think that looks pretty good. Let's check it out. Oh yeah, that's looking beauty. Okay, so we'll get our dressing into our container. Now this is a 5-day shelf life with the raw egg yolks. So 5 days from the day you make it, keep it in the fridge and use it up within that time frame. And Shouldn't be too difficult because it tastes amazing. Beautiful. Okay, so dressing is done. Actually, let's make sure. Dressing's done. All right, we'll just set that aside for now. And for the sake of being thorough, keep it in the fridge. Let's work on our veg now. So we're gonna chop up some cabbages, some kale, and some carrots, okay? Now, I'm gonna get started here. So the easiest way to cut cabbage is to cut her into quarters, remove the core. I think we'll be good with half for now. And then what I like to do, I'm pretty sure this is my method as well. I didn't see anyone else doing this. Let's just separate it out into its layers like so, flatten them out, and then slice away. And instead of, working with a big chunk of cabbage, you're just breaking it down into a little bit more manageable size. Gives you an opportunity to keep things nice and consistently sliced. And it's just, it's not so big and bulky, a little bit easier to work with. So I'm gonna do the same thing here. And actually, that guy's probably just fine the way it is. And start gathering up our veg. I love veg. Veg makes me feel good. Okay? Hang on to those stems for another use. And we're going to take our leaves. And what I like to do is just kind of tear them in half and then start slicing away. You can kind of bunch them up a little bit to make them a little bit more manageable to hold. And then, really take your time and slice them as thin as you can because, kale is quite fibrous. That's great. That's why we want it. We want that fiber, but chewing on it is much more enjoyable when it's cut super thin like this. All right, so that's ready to go into our mixing bowl. And so, you know what? I've a little talking point here. I've got some wisdom to bestow upon each and every one of my 14 viewers right now. This is how I've been rolling all winter long. I've been making kind of big batches. So I'd even chop up most of the rest of this. Big batches of this salad mix, a couple cabbages, the kale, gonna throw some carrots in there. And I've just got a container of that ready to go in the fridge at a moment's notice. And I've really boosted up my veggie intake through the winter, which has been making me feel great. So take that if you will. All right, let's get working on our carrots. We're just gonna peel these and then shred them on the cheese grater. Because guess what? Cheese graters grate carrots too. Oh, our surprise sneak attack sunflower seeds. So our sunflower seeds here, I just toasted them in the toaster oven for about 8 minutes to give them a nice little browning, and we're gonna add those to our salad at the end just for a nice texture. All right, so let's get our carrots finished off here. I think we'll probably be good with what we got here so far. We'll grab our cheese grater, which, as I mentioned, does in fact grate carrots too. It's fantastic. I have even grated celery on this thing. Cabbage, in fact. We could have done everything on the cheese grater for our slaw. Although, I really like the varying textures when you do things different ways. So like slicing the cabbage by hand, doing the carrots on the cheese grater. Just gives a little bit of a different kind of identity for each bite. All right, so let's get carrots in there. We're now ready to mix our winter slaw. This is looking great. I'm feeling the energy and sustenance this is going to provide me just by looking at it. Lettuce, get it? There's no lettuce in here. Let us finish off this salad. hot anymore. So we've got our dressing. Going to be somewhat liberal here because this is just nothing but goodness, nothing but health and nutrition. All those great fat combinations we've got in there. We've got hemp hearts and healthy oil. We've got apple cider vinegar. Mix this up really well. And this, you know, this salad's a little bit different than your typical slaw. It's got a bit of a bite to it, nice spicy kick, and it warms you from the inside out. Love this stuff. All right, we're ready to finish this off. So we've obviously got a nice large portion of salad here. More than one man could handle, I dare say. But the great thing about this salad is you can mix it up ahead of time and eat it over the next few days pre-mixed, or mix it up fresh and enjoy it immediately. Nice texture with these toasted sunflower seeds, and how's that? That's looking good. You know what? I need me some of that right now. So I'm gonna dig right in and give it a try. I'm telling you, slaw does not get much better than that. Fantastic. So, next up, roasted mushroom and pecan quinoa. All right, so we've got a hot pot here. We're gonna add our quinoa to the hot pot and just give it a light toast before we add our water. So you definitely want to keep a close eye on it because it will burn pretty quickly. And I'm going to do that. In the meantime, I'm gonna get some dates chopped up here because we're gonna cook some dates into our quinoa just to add a nice little sweetness. So just gonna roughly chop these so that they can kind of soften up and dissolve a little bit while our quinoa cooks. Really quickly, I got a hot back here though. Keep these moving. This pan or this pot's quite hot, and just looking for a little bit of an extra toast, not too much. We're also gonna go with some salts and paprika, and we're ready to get this all going in our pot. All right, so I'm happy with how we've toasted those. I'm gonna add the water now. It's gonna be a bit of a steam show. Okay, we're going to add in our dates. I'm gonna add in our salt and pepper, or salt and paprika, I should say. And if you have some delicious homemade chicken broth, go for it. You can use that right now instead of the water. And then we're gonna cook this, as I always cook my quinoa, 10 minutes on simmer, and then we'll remove it from the heat and let it sit for another 10 minutes. With the lid on, very important. Now, let's get some veggies chopped up, shall we? We'll start off with some red onion. So we're just gonna slice our onions here. Much like I did with the cabbage earlier, you can, just got a little bit of a blemish here to remove. You can separate the onions into layers for slicing, which some people find easier, you know? So we go like so, and like so. Flatten it out, slice away. All right, let's slice up some mushrooms. I always like to cut the bottom off of the mushroom, just because it's, you know, been harvested and then potentially dried up a little bit. So just give the bottom a little slice, and then if you want, you can slice it in half, and then you flip them down, a little bit more stable on the cutting board. Okay, we'll get a couple more going here, because they shrink a lot, right? Mushrooms shrinky. I actually much prefer to cut them in half first and then slice them up. I can do it much quicker. Get rid of those stems. We'll do one more here. Okay, our pan, nice and hot. I'm gonna get some coconut oil into the pan. And then we'll get our mushrooms going first. Make sure we have enough oil in there. Very important. Especially with mushrooms, they tend to enjoy the oil, so to speak. So we want to give the mushrooms a bit of a head start, let them start browning before we add in our onions. So in the meantime, we'll just chop up our garlic here. Get it, I'm going to slice it nice and thick so we have some good chunks of garlic in our finished product, our finished dish. I really like biting into that nice roasted garlic kind of thing, you know? Delicious. So nice big slices here. We'll go check on our mushrooms. They're coming along. That pan was nice and hot, so I can probably get some onions going in there now. And you know, I could have done another 1 or 2 mushrooms there. Always get deceived by how much they shrink. But that's okay. Next time, next time. Okay, so I can actually get my garlic in there now too. So we'll toss that in. We're just going to quickly chop up some pecan. And then we'll pick some thyme really quickly. The last 2 ingredients that we're going to throw in. Some raw pecans here. Love the pecans. A little bit pricey, so if you want to save some money, you can always use walnuts. Walnuts are pecans' cheaper little cousin. All right, so do this as quick as we can here. Just looking for the leaves, and the softer stem is fine as well. Just don't want any of that hard, kind of tough to chew part of the stem. So once you pick your time, go through it, make sure we're good. So I'm just gonna give this a stir. It is coming along nicely. And you know what? I'm just gonna get us a little bit more time because I like it. You can't really have enough with the fresh herbs in my books. Okay, that's looking pretty good. Quick chop. And we can now get our thyme and pecans into the pan. Okay, so we'll get those guys in. Grab lots and lots of fresh ground pepper in there. I really love fresh ground pepper, and especially in this dish. So you can see I'm really cranking it in there. We're gonna season this with a bit of salt and some paprika to match up what we did with our quinoa. And then we'll give everything a couple of minutes. All right, so our quinoa has sat for 10 minutes after it cooked for 10 minutes. As you can see, all of the water's nicely absorbed. We're gonna finish off our frying pan with a nice dash, splash and a dash of soy sauce. Try and release everything that's stuck on the bottom. As you can see, I brought this back up to heat after it had been sitting for a little bit. And now we'll combine our quinoa along with our beautiful sauteed mixture here. And we've got a beautiful dinner. It's fit for any meatless Monday table. All right, this looks fantastic. And let me tell you, I can hardly wait to tuck into this. So I'm just going to use the serving spoon to dig right into this. So nice. So much umami with that soy sauce and the mushrooms. Don't even really miss the meat. And nice little sweetness from the dates. I really, really like this dish. I think you will too. Just about to tuck in to dessert. So nice. A little bit of tartness with those apples, no extra sugar added there. Nice light crust. Fantastic. I love this dessert. Super clean and healthy. This is how I've been surviving this winter. Coconut apple crumble, little winter slaw, some roasted mushroom and pecan quinoa. All light, healthy, nutritious, keeping me going through the winter. All the recipes we've covered here today, you'll find at countrygrocer.com. They're there for you along with hundreds of others. Thanks for being with us, and see you next time.
Country Grocer.